Okay, you're going to try this again. I had a kind of a failed attempt earlier for reasons I won't get into. So this is the last shelf on this currently in transition collection. I'm going to start with D6. This was from West End, if I remember right. This was part of their, I think, with the Star Wars system kind of divorced from Star Wars. Tank Girl, World of Tank Girl, World of Tales from the Crypt, World of Necroscope, and World of Species, which I believe used their, I don't remember what it was called. It's the same system that they used for World of Indiana Jones, the Masterbook system, which I never got into at all. But I have several of the books, obviously. Let's see, Tristat D6 from Guardians of Order. No idea, no recollection of what that was about or why I have it. Then we get Sle Industries, another game like Whispering Vault that I bought when it first came out back in the 90s, came into the store, and I was captivated by it, by the art, by the style. I just thought it was very cool. And then I could never get anyone interested in it other than myself, and never got a game going. To this day, I've never played it. There's a new edition out, which I've heard is quite good, but I can't really bring myself to buy a new edition of a game that I have never been able to get to the table. After that, we have what takes up most of this shelf, and why this shelf will be a lot shorter than the last one, and that is my Gerps collection. Gerps is a complicated game for me in that I really don't like Gerps. I think it is a boring, lifeless, and antiseptic rule system. I've played it somewhat, and I did not particularly enjoy it, at least not mechanically. I enjoyed the game that I was in, but more for the people in the story. But that said, Steve Jackson Games and the Gurps folks did amazing work with all of their supplements, which is why I have almost an entire shelf of Gurps books. And in fact, I used to have pretty much this whole shelf filled with them, but I have since started selling off some of the ones that I don't have any intention of ever using, primarily ones revolving around rules. You know, the tech books and things like that, because I don't care. I'm not going to ever run a game in Gurps because I really don't like Gurps. But they have great books that are great for reading. Cliffhangers, Bunnies and Burrows, Fantasy 2 in case you want your Winnie the Pooh gods. They do a lot of history supplements, which in the time before the internet and the rise of popular history, it was very difficult if you weren't an academic and you didn't want to spend nights and nights of researching in a college library, which maybe you do, but maybe you don't. I didn't. It was hard to find just really easy to read, concise but informative histories of various parts of the world. It was really difficult. You could find kids' books, and you could find college textbooks if you wanted to pay $100, but you couldn't find a lot else. And so their history books were a great resource for me in the 90s particularly. They have other stuff, alternate Earths, time travel. They have several tie-in games, or, there's like their Car Wars game. I'm going to turn the camera a little bit here. There's Car Wars, Ogre, Reign of Steel is one of my favorites. I always wanted to run a Reign of Steel game. Again, not using Gurps because it's Gurps. Cool setting, though. But then they did tie-ins to novels. So there's like War Against the Ch'Tor, or Ch'Tor, whatever. Riverworld, Witchworld. There's more in here somewhere. I have Book of the New Sun back here. And they did others. I never got The Prisoner, which I did want, but was not able to acquire. And then, anyway, I have Gurps Traveler. Now, I talked about earlier having discovered, in a previous video, that I had many different editions of Traveler for reasons that I was not fully aware. Still don't know how I ended up acquiring so many different versions of the game that I have never played, but I did, and I have unloaded most of them. But I still have Gurps Traveler, and I decided when I started to get rid of them that the one I would keep was going to be Gurps Traveler because it's easy to keep on the shelf. It's formatted in a way I like, and I figured, you know, if I ever was going to sit down and run Traveler, it would probably be easy to use the way Steve Jackson Games presents their information. It would probably be easy to use that as the source books for a game that I might run. What system would I use? I don't know. Almost certainly would not be Gurps. Well, in fact, certainly it would not be Gurps. I doubt it would be an original Traveler. I have heard good things about the Cepheus system, which is like the cleaned up, updated, smoothed over kind of version of Traveler from what I understand, but I haven't checked that out yet. I may look at that at some point in the future. And then last on here, I have Blue Planet. I have the first edition and its supplements, and then I have some stuff from the second edition. Blue Planet is one that I have both fond and negative memories of. It came out, and I was totally carried away, captivated by the original game. The art, the setting, the kind of hopeful sci-fi mixed with cosmic horror. I just really, really bought into it, and I loved it. And I loved it so much that I was actually able to overcome my usual inertia and get a campaign running. And the campaign was both somehow some of the best and some of the worst gaming I've ever had. Some of my highlights and my colossal failures as a GM. It was a game that kind of... I think that was the first unsuccessful, I think the first really brutal failure I had as a GM, and so it always kind of tainted me. It like really shook my confidence, and for I don't know that I ever fully got over it. I mean, I still game mastered for probably another 5, 6, 7 years before taking a decade plus long break after having some real confidence shaking final gaming experiences, which is part of why I took such a long break, that moving 700 miles away from home. But Blue Planet is a really fascinating game. It's one that I think about a lot, one that I have held on to for all this time, because in spite of having some negative feelings about it, I have a lot of positive feelings. I do remember on a technical basis, and I hope that this has changed with the second edition, but I haven't really read it. I acquired those second edition books. I don't remember how or why, but I feel like it was cheap, and I never really looked at them. I just was like, okay. But I remember when Blue Planet came out that running the game was actually very difficult because of very poor organization and no index. So you would never know. You might need something for combat, but it wasn't in combat. It was in equipment, and you wouldn't know that because there was no reason for it to be there, but that's where it was. So I know with the screen, I think it was with the screen, they also added an index. I think that's what this was, the access denied thing was the screen. But I believe there was an index added into there so that you could actually then have more confidence running the game. Anyway, Blue Planet, really fascinating one. Again, I've held on to it for all this time because it does have so much potential, and I would like to revisit it sometime. So that's it. That's my collection as it stands when I started recording these videos. It is a collection constantly in flux. I am definitely divesting myself of a good deal of this material, but also I have some new stuff coming in as well. In fact, I think at the time I'm recording this video, I just acquired something. Scum and Villainy, which is sort of the sci-fi version of Blades in the Dark, from what I understand, although I have not taken a look at that yet. So, all right, well, I hope you enjoyed my little tour. Leave some comments if you've got some thoughts. I don't know what one would think of all of this. All right, take care, everybody.